YouTube, welcome back to the channel. You're watching Outdoors with Craig DZ. Today going to be doing some dump trailer maintenance. Don't have it rented out for the next coming days, so just trying to do some light maintenance on it, clean it up and get things in tip-top shape order. So stay tuned. So here you guys have the trailer. One thing I've noticed, like this thing, it's probably gone out, I don't know, 2 or 3 rentals since I've washed it, and I mean it usually stays pretty clean unless it's dirty, or yeah, usually stays pretty clean unless it rains and I have to go through some puddles. So in other news, so here's like screw for my board. This loosened up. Could even be a marketing thing. I mean, you market that you can have your garage sale, and then like the day of, when it's over, you pull up, they throw all the stuff in your dumpster, and away you go. And I guess if it was more of a like town-wide garage sale, maybe you could get 2 or 3, 4 different people. You charge them each, I don't know, $100, whatever, to throw all their stuff, and it saves them. It's like my parents. I mean, I don't want them, it's stuff that's junk that's been sitting around for years. So my mother finally dug it out, and it's like, spend all this time digging it out. I think she ended up making $100 for all her efforts. But then you take it all back, you bring it back inside, it sits there again for another 5 years, and before you know it, it's either completely just junk because it's deteriorated, gotten damaged from moving, or if it's something technology-wise, it rots away, or it's completely useless by the 5 years down the road. If it's a laptop or technology, cassette player, I mean, who really uses that stuff anymore? So the dumpster is a great asset for that. So I also, my neighbor across the street, it's his daughter's graduation party this coming week, so offered it to them if they had anything that they wanted to get rid of. So they threw quite a bit of stuff in there, so I had a decent load. And in other news too with that, actually found through some research and a buddy a different place to dump. So I mean, it's good news for me because it allows me, A, to make more money, and 2, be probably more competitive with pricing. So I found a place, and it's like 5 minutes from my work, my main job. So now I don't really have to be bothered with like, oh crap, I got to dump it. I work tomorrow. How am I going to do that before I go to work? Well, it's 5 minutes down the road. So if I go there, they open at 7. I usually don't go to work till 7:30. I can dump it and be at work still at 7:30. I just have to bring my truck and trailer with me instead of my car, which it really isn't much of an inconvenience. But I found this new place. It's kind of more, it's just a transfer station, and it's kind of low key, but I think I know what they're doing and why they're pricing the way that there is. You can bring it to kind of the main city, like the port that's on the Hudson. Again, wouldn't drink or eat anything out of there. Sorry for all you New York City folk. But yeah, it's like the Port of Albany, right on the Hudson, and they take garbage and debris. I think they only charge $80 a ton, but you have to pay it's a $200 application fee. I don't know if I never really looked into it, just because of the $200 application fee. And Albany for me is, you're talking 30-35 minutes away depending on traffic, so it's like 15 minutes farther, and for me, time is money, so I'd rather pay more and not have to drive as far. It's also less wear and tear on your vehicle, on the trailer, so there's a lot of other benefits. But so I think this guy is basically a transfer station. He's taking it and probably gets a discounted rate for bulk and quantity, and then he's bringing it probably there to dump. So the price, it was with tax and all, it was literally $100, so $60 cheaper than where I was taking it before. And this allows me to do 2 things. One, I could drop my price $50, right? And technically I'm still making $10 more than I would on average going to the other place. 2, in my mind, I'm actually going to keep my same pricing for the other place. So like, I'm going to include the first ton, but if you go over, it's $80 a half ton, you know, and then if you go over a half a ton, then it's a full 160. And that way, my pricing is competitive as far as just base price with 1 ton included. But if you go over, that's where you can kind of make some extra money. And I also like the idea too, just because if I did for whatever reason have to go, maybe it's closer to the other dump, I could still use that as an option and really not lose a ton of money. But yeah, I'm gonna start cleaning this thing off. I gotta do some work, wash the truck down too, just get this thing nice and clean. But yeah, it definitely gets a little bit, the trailer gets a little bit of a stench to it if you don't clean it, depending. I mean, it doesn't help. Probably one of my customers was a food restaurant, and they were replacing some ductwork with that, which I don't know if it was ductwork for like exhaust. It, you know, possibly could have been. I kind of doubt it though, because usually exhaust you wouldn't use like flexible pipe. But I don't know if it's in the restaurant, and so it all stunk like grease, and it's like a burger hot dog place. So we'll hose it down and clean it up here. All right, welcome back to the channel, guys. You're watching Outdoors with Craig DZ. Just out here for the rest of the dump trailer update. So this would be pretty much the 3-month update, right? So I'm out here. So I was cleaning, maintenance. The other day I had to go. It was actually 140 bucks it cost me. I had a dent in my truck. Had nothing to do with dump business. It was more, I think, so I washed it, which you guys saw in the video, and didn't see any dents. So a couple days later I went into the firehouse, which I'm a member of and firefighter, and Sunday I used the truck and took my hauling trailer and we went riding with my side-by-side and four-wheeler. My wife came, and when we were getting gas, she's like, hey, you got a dent in the side of your door. So somebody obviously at the firehouse, it definitely where it was looked like must have swung their door and hit it, so they put a dent. So it was 140 bucks to have that pulled out. But that's, again, just maintenance to the vehicle. Tires, brakes, oil changes, that type of stuff is all things that you kind of have to factor in. For me, I use it for more than just the dump business. I tow my side-by-side and four-wheeler and do firewood stuff with it too, so it's multi-use. But yeah, business. So for second month, first 2 months, right, were really good. First month was kind of way better than I had expected or even planned. Second month, same, was probably just about there. I mean, in total, to date right now, I'm probably, I'd have to look at my books, but probably close to like 3,000 profit. And that's, after dump fees and gas and fuel and all that type of stuff. So, really well. However, most of that was actually months 1 and 2. If you watch my other videos, I think my first month I made like 1,500. So yeah, so month 3, really. So we're at the end of June here now. The past 2 weeks, I've not had any traction with rentals, and what actually doesn't scare me, just because again, this isn't my full-time business or anything. If it was, I would be pretty worried at this point up until today. But we hadn't rented anything out in a while, and I haven't gotten any calls. I've gotten a couple messages, but like I did a Facebook ad and got like nothing. Ran for 5 days. Pricing, I think I found another spot to dump, so my pricing to dump went down, so I lowered my pricing too. So now it's $200 for 2-day rental, and then it kind of goes up from there if you want it 3 days, 5 days, 7 days. So basically at $200 I can make the same I was making at $250. Now if I could rent it at $250, I'd make more, which would be ideal. But at the moment, I hadn't had anything. Like, I was rented the first week in June, and that was in May. Mid-May I was rented almost into June, and then as we started to almost get into June, I was rented out till the first week of June, and things were going good. But yeah, after that it kind of stalled out. I don't know, again, for me being new to the business, I'm not sure if it's like a seasonal thing, right? So month of June was real hot. Graduation parties for high school, college. So I don't, pools are opening up. So I don't know if it's just a kind of a season thing where, June, maybe even July, I'll probably maybe see that continuing trend where it's just everybody did kind of spring cleaning, spring cleanup, and now they're, relaxing and taking off. I don't know. And for me, with the dump trailer, I'm not really targeting contractors. I think unless I was going to get into actual dumpsters, roll-offs, I don't think I would, because with those you don't really care. They, like roofers, right, can just dump them in, beat the crap out of them and scratch it up. Who cares? It's just basically a metal tin can. Where this has wheels, hydraulics, wooden sides, metal sides, door, there's a lot of things that can get dented and wrecked on these things. So fenders for the wheel, so I was looking at those trailers. I have some ballpark pricing, but I think at this point I'm going to hold off and just kind of wait and see how the rest of the year pans out. The other thing I'm thinking of too, for you guys down south, you don't have to worry about that, but for up here is wintertime, right? So do I want to run these in the winter? By doing so, right, salt's going to eat them, rust. It's just going to kind of speed up that process. I mean, they're going to rust regardless up here, no matter what I do, unless I could keep them inside in a garage, which I can't. So it's going to rust, but the salt will definitely eat them a lot quicker. So have to see. It's an idea tossed around of even come say December, right? Basically close December, January, February into March, and then open back up, and that way it hopefully maintains the value of the trailer longer, longevity, lasts longer before things break and rust out and I have to kind of spend money on replacing stuff. But at that point I would think I'll probably have this thing gone. I'll either have another one or multiple ones, but I don't think I would keep the trailer till that point. I would imagine 4 or 5 years this trailer's still gonna look pretty good. It's just gonna have some rust spots starting. But that's an idea I've been thinking about, but definitely going to hold off on getting either a second dump trailer or the roll-off. To me, I kind of look towards the roll-off as a second option. One, like I said, you really don't have to worry about them getting beat up. Two, you don't have to worry about them getting stolen either, right? If somebody's going to hook up and steal your dumpster, I mean, God bless them, because I don't know, you can't really do much with it. I mean, you could repaint it and probably sell it to somebody else down the road, or if you lived out of town, you could haul it back and repaint it and use it for your own. But for the most part, it's going to be kind of hard to sell it locally, right? And they're not super expensive themselves, by $5-6 grand. You can get some even cheaper, like $4,500. Some people I've seen. But I think that's kind of the option I'm going to go with, and that way it gives me some other avenues for business, right? I can kind of look into doing more of the commercial aspect of it, maybe next year, roofers, construction. And two, at that point I don't really care if it sits there that long, because I'm not really worried about somebody hooking up to it, stealing it. the homeowner farting around with it, moving it, trying to move it, like, oh gee, I can, because even right now, I mean, realistically, somebody could rent this and drop it off and say they're using it for debris, and they could, but if they had a 5-day rental, I locked the tongue of it, but if they could somehow get that off, they could hook it up to their truck, take it, fill up some stone, some mulch, whatever, use it for a couple days, bring it back, and then load it up with junk. And I mean, I honestly wouldn't know unless it had GPS on it, and I looked at that, which it does. So there's stuff like that I just don't think you'd have to worry about with the actual roll-offs. That, and I guess long term, right? So another dump trailer right now, probably 10, 11 G's. Or once you kind of have the setup for the roll-offs, you can get another one for like 4 or 5, which is way cheaper. So the only downside is you can't really sell it, right? You kind of have to sell it as a package deal, like the trailer with however many roll-offs you have. If you have 2 or 3, then you kind of have to sell them all. It's probably going to be hard to find somebody that's going to buy just a single used roll-off dumpster by itself with no trailer, unless they own a business today doing that, and it's a good deal. You're trying to liquidate it and get rid of it for, say, like $3,000 cash or something. Then you'll probably sell it. But yeah, so business has been slow. I did rent it out today finally. So again, I thought like Facebook maybe had blacklisted me or something, and I got reported from posting ads on Marketplace and stuff for selling things that they're rentals I'm not really selling. So that was good. And then the person that rented it today, they actually have a friend that's 15 minutes away, and was like, hey, do you service up there? I think I have a friend that's interested as well. And I'm like, yes, I do. And especially now being slow, I drive an extra 5 miles to pick up business versus just having it sit here. So I'd rather spend an extra $10 in gas and maybe only make $90 or $75 and at least be using it than just have it sitting here collecting dust doing nothing. So we'll see. Again, I think it's it's kind of just the flow of things. I think it will pick back up again come into summer, fall, but I think this trend might actually just be, at least for my area, kind of normal, where it dies out. Especially, like I said, my pricing right now is pretty much the lowest I can go. I mean, it's pretty much lowest in the area almost. I mean, there's maybe one other guy that's similar. I mean, I've seen people, so mine's 200, and that includes the 1 ton, right? There's people that are like 125, 200, and includes nothing. So that right there tells me my prices are pretty cheap. But it's weird because when I started out at 300, and I rented it like within the first week, and then wasn't really getting much bites, so I lowered it to 250, and then boom, rented it out, and 250 was renting out pretty steady. And that's why I had said, like, if I almost didn't really want to bump it back up to 300, but that dried up. So now luckily we found someplace else, so now I'm down to 200, but it's still not renting out, which makes me think if I left it at 250, I probably could still get 250. I think it's just slow season, so we'll see. But yeah, month 3, I mean, still, again, for me, some profit this month. So I think today would be the 3rd rental for the month, so not much as far as income. I mean, I think the one rental, I mean, it was light. It was a super light load. It was like insulation, like vent work. It was a full load, but it was like $40 at the dump. So I made like 200 on that load. I think the other load was like 120, and then not sure, with this one, maybe 100. So it's like 420 for the month, which for me, it's extra money. That's all it's a side hustle. I'm not looking to quit my day job and do this full time yet anyways. If I got to the point where I had 2-3 trailers, a roll-off with, you know, 3-4 roll-offs, and like most of the time a lot of them are rented, and literally every day I was picking up and dumping off and dumping and picking up and dropping off. And you know, at that point, I mean, I did the math, if I got a second trailer, and I mean, for me to, you know, drop it off at somebody's house, you know, round trip, everything, it's probably about an hour, right, on average, unless somebody's really close, then maybe it's 30 minutes. To go to the dump was taking me about an hour. So to pick up and go to the dump, there's an hour, and then if I had to do 2 of them, there's 2 hours, maybe 2.5. So I mean, there's a quarter, almost a third of the day gone. So trying to do that while working a full-time job would start becoming difficult, because the dump is closed by the time I get out of work. So that means I'd either have to stagger them, like do one Monday and do a second Tuesday, and then probably the one from Monday I'd have to drop, you know, dump and empty on Wednesday. So it would start to be pretty, for a side hustle, I mean, it'd be worth it, but it'd be exhausting, right? It'd be long work days. You'd have your 8-hour regular work day, and then definitely 9 or 10 hours or 1 or 2 hours extra every single day, which isn't bad. But for me, I like to get to the dump first and early, so it involves getting up an hour early, so I lose sleep. It's not something I'm doing at 6 o'clock, so it's just a little bit longer of a day. It actually causes me to lose some sleep, but that's part of the business. So but that's the 3-month update, guys. I appreciate you tuning in. If you haven't already, smash the subscribe button. Stay up to date on future content. I thank you for your support, for tuning in and watching. And I'll keep everyone posted.